What is up, and welcome back to 24 minutes of not A24. That's 2 weeks in a row. I still feel like Borat, dude. I can't.
Oh, I heard the Borat this time for sure.
I don't know if I should lean into it or if I should draw back.
I don't know if you can help it. I think you have to.
It's automatic. The podcast that takes a look at movies outside of the A24 library, 24 minutes at a time. Literally, I'm Ethan Simi.
And I'm Ben Lawhorn. This week on the pod, we are free climbing massive rock faces and jetting off to Sydney to stop Chimera from reaching the masses as we talk about Mission Impossible 2.
Number 2. We talked about Mission Impossible 1 last week. We're back talking about Mission Impossible 2. IMF agent Ethan Hunt is sent to Sydney to find and destroy a genetically modified disease called Chimera. The road to Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 continues. That is the ultimate goal for us, Ben. We are going towards one of the biggest movies of the summer, and we're just trying to be prepared. You know, we're trying to be prepared. We're trying to help listeners be prepared. And so it is our mission. Probably not an impossible mission, not even really a difficult mission, honestly. No. Just to watch Mission Impossible movies. It's fun. There you go. It's a fun mission. So this is our second Patreon episode. Let me quickly go over how our Patreon is structured differently than our regular podcast. There's two very important differences. Number one, if you're watching the video, you can see we have a live 24-minute timer, which, you know, for Mission Impossible as our first franchise, I feel like is very on brand. Like I feel like it's
so appropriate.
It's like a bomb timer, quite honestly, where it's just like, what's going to happen when it goes off, you know?
Yeah. And for anyone who's like listening and not watching, like we start it when this starts. Like 100%. We're not going to like first just word. Chat and stuff and then start it. It's like we're on the clock. 2 minutes are down already. So yeah.
Exactly. So we only have 24 minutes from very first word to very last word. Last week, kind of very close. So we'll see what happens this week. Second thing that is different is if we go over time, we will have punishments. We have a pinwheel of punishments. Now, we haven't shared that out to our listeners. We haven't shared it out to anybody, and we won't until we actually partake in a punishment. I can tell you it's real. It's got 6 different punishments on it, and if we go over, we'll spin it, and we might have to hate watch a movie scene. We might have to take a shot of tequila. We might have to eat a pepper. Who knows what could happen?
Who knows?
Either way, I'm not looking forward to it if we go over.
I mean, the shot of tequila doesn't sound too bad, to be honest. it's like a 1 out of 6 is okay. It's like we get one good one.
It's true. So, you got to sprinkle in some good stuff. Just you got to make it appealing. Yeah. So that is how this podcast is laid out. Ben, are you ready to talk about Mission Impossible 2?
Showtime.
Let's go. Okay. Released in 2000, 4 years after the first Mission Impossible in 1996. It is directed by John Woo. Hans Zimmer did the score, so that's kind of crazy. We've got Thandwi Newton, Ving Rhames, Brendan Gleeson, and Anthony Hopkins in this movie. I just want to start out by saying, when Brendan Gleeson appeared and he was on the screen, Molly was out watching her show on her phone. She must have peeked up at the right moment. She goes, "Oh, I know him." And I was like, we did it. Yes, You know who Brendan Gleeson is. It felt great.
Is it Mad Eye? Is that her connection to him? Like, it's a solid connection. Dude, that is not a judgment. I love him as Mad Eye Moody. He's so good. I
guarantee you that it's not. I'm positive that it's from Banshees of Inisherin because I watched that movie like 3 times in my house and I wouldn't shut up about it. And she probably knows it from that. I would reckon that she doesn't even know that Brendan Gleeson is Mad Eye. Great call.
Next time you guys watch that and he comes on, I want to see if she puts it together. She's probably listening to this, but
we got to get a live watch going on for the Brendan Mad Eye Gleeson introduction.
It was so good to see him. I forgot. Like, this is something that I had only seen like once, I think, before, maybe twice. So I totally forgot. And at neither of those times did I know who Brendan Gleeson was. So it was really cool to watch this. I'm like, oh shit, that's him. Oh, that's Thandie Newton, like from Westworld. Like, this is awesome. This is so cool.
It was pretty sick. Now, this is the first time I've ever seen Mission Impossible 2. Starting this week and moving forward, this is my first watch for any of these Mission Impossible. So I'm going in fresh. Let's do our general thoughts. We're going to do our 3 true cinema moments a piece, and then we'll maybe discuss if this would fit in the modern day A24 library to kind of bring it back to our regular podcast. Ben, the first Mission Impossible is sick. This Mission Impossible sucks ass. It's bad, dude.
I mean, Yeah, you're not wrong.
It wasn't for me. Let's just say that.
Well, okay. Well, I'm going to correct the statement here because it was for you at the very beginning. I got a text from you that said, I'm 10 minutes into Mission Impossible 2 and it's just incredible. And then all caps, the slow-mo glasses throw, wowzers. And I was like, and I loved getting it because I was sitting next to Ashley and I was like, oh, we're getting another text. We're getting an update text in like 2 hours. And that 100% happened because it was like, oh, yeesh, that was different. I retract my excitement from the first text. And it's like, yeah, I mean, it starts out, I mean, you're talking to someone who owned every single Limp Bizkit album. Like I was so into like the beginning of this, like, hell yeah. Like let's get into Limp Bizkit. We're rock climbing in my home state. We're in Utah. Like we got the fucking Oakleys on, like peak 2000 fashion. You know what I mean?
Oh
like,
yeah.
It was so good. And it starts out hot. And then like, even like the bait and switch we get at the beginning of like him being Dimitri, it's like, oh shit, like, wait, what happened here? Like these must be the good guys that he's with. And this guy's a bad guy. And then we get the reveal that it's like Doug Ray Scott. And it's just like, oh, okay, hold on. Like I don't think anyone ever thought about Ethan being copied. You know, it's like, oh no, they're the ones that do the copying. But then all of a sudden we see this person. It's like, oh, okay, we can't trust anybody now. This is, I think, universally just like objectively viewed as the worst of the Mission Impossible franchise. This is like the worst movie. So you made it through. So it's all uphill from here.
All upside.
It's all upside. I know. Yeah, I said it was a secret and I'm not going to keep it anymore. We're heading into my two favorite Mission Impossibles, 3 and 4. Like those are my two favorite of the series. So we got through 2. We're working our way to the great stuff for me. But this one, I think it's all like, you just got to go on with the right mindset. It's John Woo. Like we get the doves like flying up in the air. Like you get everything that John Woo wants. Again, like my partner Ashley tonight was even saying like, you know, it can be viewed as like bad or whatever, but the thing that this series has done is they've always found like the best directors of the time, where we got De Palma in the 90s, you know, and then we get John Woo, who's just like, yeah, he's the action dude. Like this may be hit or miss for people, but he is the action dude. Watch The Killer, you know, like, I mean, he's got so many great movies. Hard Boiled. Please watch Hard Boiled.
I mean, he made Face Off just 3 years earlier, and Face Off fucking rules.
So good. Yeah, it's fantastic. So like, this wasn't like a weird choice. This was a great choice. I think it just didn't necessarily land everywhere. I mean, God, there's so much fucking cleavage in this movie. It's like poor Dan. He's just like having to like run around with like barely any clothes on. Like, oh, this sucks. And that changes, thankfully, in the rest of the series. But it's like some of these shots, like when they're in the bathtub and we're like face down on Ethan, and then we just have like just this chest, you know, just like it's bokeh, it's blurry and stuff. But it's like we don't need to like be staring down her dress right now while we're looking at this shot. That's kind of a bummer. You know, I don't know. But yeah, I think you just have to go into it the right mind frame. Like this is just fun. It's absurd. It's crazy. They fucking like race bikes at each other and jump off it at the end. Like that's the climactic fight, you know? And it's great. It's great, but it's like, it's dumb and it's absurd and it's like, whatever. This is, for me, this is the closest one to the Fast and Furious franchise, which I think we have to keep making comparisons because they're close. Yeah. But this one is like just as absurd, where it's like, I mean, there is a Fast and Furious where they like drive the cars at each other. It's like they just kind of do the same thing, but with cars, you know? So it makes sense. But the cast is cool. It's got some great line deliveries in it. But yeah, I don't know. It's really interesting. I'm curious to hear your full thoughts now outside of just those 2 texts, because I feel like so much happened in that 2 hours. And I really want to hear your take on this.
So much happened in that 2 hours. At least I feel okay that I texted you, because at least I went back to you and I recognized the grave mistake that I made. And look, I wasn't being dishonest with you. I had a great time the first 10 minutes. When he threw his glasses at the screen and it went into the Mission Impossible logo, I was like, this is sick. Like, it's super camp, but it's also really cool. Like, I was super on board because it was slow-mo. It was something different. Was
wrong. We got like a plane crashing into a mountain after like all this reveal. Then, we get the rock climbing, and he's like, for no reason, has his like back to the rock. And he's like looking out. Like, you get so much cool shit
ever.
Yeah. So like nothing you said was wrong. I was just like, it was kind of funny to see that.
So yeah, I mean, I think it goes in really hot. I have a really big pacing issue with this one. Like, 30 minutes in, and I, obviously I've only ever seen the first one, so my direct comparison was the first one. I remember talking on the pod last week saying, like, 30 minutes into the first Mission Impossible, you're like, oh my God, we're already 30 minutes in. Like, this is a blast. We're having fun. We're doing cool stuff, and things are exciting. 30 minutes into this one is where Tom Cruise tries to, like, seduce this girl, and, like, things go really slowly. And I was just like, man, we're only 30 minutes in. Like, I just feel like that wasn't a great situation. There were definitely moments of this movie that I did like. We're going to talk about the true cinema, but, like, one that's not on my list, you mentioned, like, in the bathtub scene, really uncomfortable, really weird, like, dynamic, but also when they walk out and Ethan Hunt is like, I triggered the alarm. I was like, you fucking guy. Yeah, you did. You bet. I was like, that's pretty cool. So, like, I feel like there's pieces there. I think the biggest thing for me in this movie as a whole, exceptionally hard focus on the villain and on the villain's crew. That is so different from the first movie. We are so focused on Ethan Hunt and his crew and what they are doing, and less so on the villain, right? Or on the MacGuffin or whatever. So that was a huge, like, kind of divergence from the first one. Sean Ambrose, the villain. Yeah. I've got just a point blank question for you. Is he the horniest villain of all time? Because it's off the charts uncomfortable in this movie, and the slow-mo does not help his case.
No, it does not at all. Yeah, you could definitely make the argument he's on that Rushmore for sure. Like, without a doubt, he's a horny villain.
He is a horny guy who can chop off people's pinkies, apparently. Yeah. So, I think there's bits and pieces to this movie. It just didn't all really work for me. Let's do our true cinema because we only have 12 minutes, so we're already halfway done.
You know what? I'm going to cut you off, and I'm going to extend this even longer. I got a fun fact for you. Okay. The villain, Sean Ambrose, Doug Ray Scott. Do you know his history of, like, this movie running long and stuff like that?
No.
So they had to do reshoots for this movie. And because they had to do reshoots for this, he wasn't able to play Wolverine in X-Men. So they got Hugh Jackman. Dude, Doug Ray Scott was supposed to be Wolverine, but because they had to do extra shots for this, he had to drop out because he was committed to this. And they're like, all right, we'll do Hugh Jackman. Can you imagine if we had Doug Ray Scott, like, for the last 20 years? Like, it wouldn't be the same person. Like, he's great. No disrespect to him at all, but, like, Hugh Jackman fucking owns that role, and it's all thanks to Mission Impossible 2. So if anything good came out of this movie, it's the fact that we got Hugh Jackman as Wolverine for the last 20 years.
Incredible fact. I'm going to start spreading the gospel. That's unreal.
Yeah, gotta let him know. So, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I just want to make sure we get that out before we run out of 24 minutes, because it's just like, it's huge.
That's a big one. It's wow, that's super crazy. Okay. My first true cinema moment is going to be the slow-mo glasses throw. Yeah. I think this is great. I think this, combined with, like, the free climbing on the rocks, you can see, like, the screenshot in our timer. That scene in and of itself is pretty wild, because you're just kind of, like, in awe of what Tom Cruise is doing and accomplishing, like jumping from cliff to cliff, which is kind of crazy. I love that he's found by the helicopter, and they shoot the rocket, and it's inside the rocket. He takes out the glasses, and then he does the whole thing of, like, if I told you where I was, I wouldn't be on vacation. And then he throws them into the screen, and I was like, Mission Impossible's back!
Yes,
like,
let's do it.
I thought it was so sick. I loved it. I think that 10 minutes is just delightful.
I mean, I'm with you too. Like, we don't share our list with each other before this, and that's my number one as well, is the rock climbing intro. Yeah, it's like, it's so good. And, like, I mean, to some extent, I'm sure he was wired in on some of that stuff, like the jump and whatever, but also just knowing him, it's like, he probably just did a lot of this, you know? Like, the one that always gets me is when he's, like, taking that rest, and he, like, tucks his knee under the rock, just, like, leans back.
God, I lost my mind, like, dude.
Yeah, it's nuts. So, yeah, the actual, like, route is kind of weird, you know, but, like, you're getting really, like, picky at that point. But it's such a great intro, and it's just, as far as all the intros for these movies, it's got to be up there as, like, one of the best. Like, the rest of the movie aside, it's a fantastic intro.
I think it is. I think it's a great introduction. Number 2, Anthony Hopkins shows up in this movie for 2 scenes, and that's pretty much it. I don't know if he needed a paycheck, and I don't know if John Woo, like, sought him out. Totally out of place in this movie, in my opinion. Just, like, doesn't work, out of left field. Like, wow, Anthony Hopkins. What's up, dude? Welcome to Mission Impossible. It felt weird, but my second pick is, in fact, his just incredible heater, all bangers all the time line of, this isn't mission difficult, Mr. Hunt. This is Mission Impossible. And it's like, we did it.
That's
Like
solid.
2000s camp. We're here. We're just being self-aware Mission Impossible.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was great to see him. I think this becomes kind of the ongoing tradition of these movies where like, let's get an actor, a notable actor to come in and like, he'll be the person this time, we'll see what happens. We got John Voight and then next we have Lawrence Fishburne coming up. So it's kind of interesting to see all these and just like these little cameos. I'm like, yeah, man, like get a paycheck. It's probably paid for some chalet or something, you know what I mean? Like go for it. So, my second one is the car chase down the mountain when he's going after Nia Hall. Just how absurd it is. Like we're like panning with them down the mountain, and the cars are just like in a spiral, just like a nonstop spiral. It's like this doesn't even like scientifically make sense. Like there's no way this could actually be happening. Obviously, like they're on something that's just spinning them, and it's like, but this is John Woo. Like this is what he does. Like we're gonna get crazy here. We're gonna like. You're going to have to like slam into their car to stop them from going over the cliff. Like it's just an absurd car chase. But to me, just like encapsulate what this movie is. Like you just got to embrace it. It's nuts. It's weird.
Yeah, it's nuts. It's pretty funny too in the beginning of that scene when he's on his cell phone and she's like, I don't even have the number to this phone. He's like, do you want it? Because I can give it to you. And it's just like, I don't know. I think it's great. I think it's a really weird script, to be honest. Like it just is so strange, and like the beats are so few and far between. Like it just feels weird. I will say that pretty much the entire scene when they're at the track, right? When they're betting on the horses, I liked that whole scene. I thought it was pretty cool. I think like their earpieces, the binoculars, Nia coming in, being a good thief and like stealing something off of Ambrose, I thought was good. Like her introduction to Brendan Gleeson, I thought that felt like the most kind of Mission Impossible because we're in a crowded area, we're trying to do covert things, and if we get caught, we're fucked. And like that's the end of the mission. So I think like as a whole, that scene was really fun. But again, like, yeah, it's just like as a whole, doesn't work within the movie. Yeah. My third pick for True Cinema, feet skating on the ground while on the motorcycle. This was the most unreal thing ever. Tom Cruise riding his motorcycle. I mean, we're doing crazy shit. This is like during the motorcycle bit where like they finally meet up, right? And they ditch their motorcycles and they just fucking bear hug in the middle of the sky. And right before that happens, Tom Cruise just like is holding onto the handlebars, but he gets off and his feet are just gliding on the ground. And then he gets back on his motorcycle. And I was just like, that was sick. Like that was really cool.
And he probably just did it, like legit did it. It's so rad. It's such a visually interesting thing to watch happen. It's so funny. Yeah, that's a great pick. My third one, again, like kind of towards the end here, because we have like this great cinematic score that's happening thanks to Hans Zimmer. But he like Ethan throws the vial and then like he just like kicks the ground and the gun just like comes straight up to him.
Oh my
gosh,
like,
grabs it out of the air. And it's like, again, none of this makes sense, but again, it's also John Woo, so it makes perfect sense. Like this is fantastic. I just love that scene. Just like it was kind of absurd. I do have like an honorable mention that I just want to mention is there's one part during like one of the shootouts where Ethan and Nia are together and Nia's like on the ground sitting down, I believe. And Ethan, is like looking the other direction and he does this weird like spin move as he like kneels down to talk to her. It's just like, it's so good. Like we watched it probably 3 times. We just kept playing it back. It's like, he could have just knelt down. Like he was facing her.
Too simple.
He could just knelt, but he's like, no, I'm gonna do a whole spin
I'm going
move
around.
and like drop down. It's like, what is that? And then once I called that out, like the rest of the movie, you just see how many unnecessary spin moves there are in this movie. Like no one needs to be doing spin moves this much, but they did, and I loved it. So
it's probably like day one training at IMF. They're like, never approach a subject straight on. always spin. You got to do something crazy.
Oh my god!
I do want to ask you a question. So first Mission Impossible, short-haired Tom Cruise. Second Mission Impossible, long hair Tom Cruise, Magnolia style Tom Cruise, Magnolia era Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
Do you have a preference? Do you like short hair or long hair Tom Cruise?
I mean, if anyone's watching this and you can see me, like I'm into I like the long hair. That's one of the best parts of this movie is his hair for sure. Yeah. I understand that the short hair is more like tactical, like it makes sense for his job. But I mean, he was on holiday, you know, he's growing out his hair and he just got called in. So I dig it.
Fair.
Yeah. What do you think?
That checks out. No, that checks out. You know, I think short hair, like Ethan Hunt, short hair Tom Cruise is much more down to business. Like I'm much more afraid of him. Long hair Tom Cruise definitely fits the vibe of this movie better. Like, let's do a spin move because I can. Let's do this weird motorcycle thing because I can. Like, it just seems like he's kind of just like in his own world a little bit and not super pinned in, I guess. And that is a lot of responsibility to put on a haircut, but that's how I feel. And you know, I think that's okay. I did want to mention one other thing that I thought was pretty funny about this movie was in the end, when we get like the stock transfer, right? Like we're getting like, that's kind of what we've done. Sean Ambrose is like, I want all these stocks and I'm going to be a 50% owner of this company. And you did all this research for this thing. And then you have a virus, and then you have like an antivirus and all of this stuff to make all this money, right? In doing this, I just think it's amazing that they have like a finance guy on hand. Like we've never seen him before. They're at some underground layer and he's like, initiate the stock transfer. And we like zoom, like quick cut to a finance guy who's like dressed up. He's a little nerdy and he like starts punching buttons and he's like sick. Like this guy's privy to all this like underground shit information. You don't think he's going to squeal? I find that strange.
I mean, it is strange, but I guess if you know, he's probably skimming off the top himself. So
that's
probably
true.
Not too worried about it. Yeah. That's the best part about like playing Monopoly is when you're the banker, you slip yourself $100 every now and then, you know,
start the little skim fund.
Yeah.
Okay. Would this movie fit into the A24 catalog? I'm voting a hard no.
Yeah. I don't know that it would. Like, I think there are John Woo movies that could fit in there. I think they're open to that, but this one just like, it seems too crazy. Like there's not enough story, not enough like emotion or whatever. Like
just what I was gonna say.
We've seen crazy movies. Like we've seen like Spring Breakers. Like that's a weird movie. There's a universe where these two are together. Like the Venn diagram is very close between these on the absurdity level, you know.
Sure.
Like Alien lives wherever. It's the same universe, but that one has more of the story and stuff like that. This is just pure like, let's give John Woo like all the action money he wants, and that's just not really A24's thing.
No, I totally agree with you 100%. There is one more thing that I thought was incredible that was introduced in this movie that we get in the third one that I didn't want to forget to call out, that I think is probably one of the better introductions of a technology or of like a tool to use, the voice changer strip.
Oh, yeah.
We see it on Sean Ambrose the first time, and that's how he is talking like Ethan Hunt. And he rips off his Ethan Hunt mask, yet he continues to talk like Ethan Hunt. I thought that was fucking cool. And that was sick. And we see that in 3. And like that, I assume is a staple throughout. Well, I guess we'll find out. But like, that's a really cool piece of tech that I'm really glad they introduced and did not immediately abandon.
Yeah, it was super cool and very tight macro shot of seeing him remove it. It was awesome. I loved it.
Rip it right off. Awesome, dude. Next week on the Patreon pod, Mission Impossible 3, 24 minutes. Can it be done? Probably not. It's a Mission Impossible. Who knows?
We'll see. We'll do our best. But yeah, let us know what you guys think about Mission Impossible 2. Is it the worst of the franchise? Is it the most fun of the franchise? Tell us. We're on Instagram, Twitter at 24 minutes of A24. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube where you can see us and our long and our short hairs, just like Ethan Hunt.
Yeah,
thanks so much for supporting us. I am Ben Lawhorn.
And I am Ethan Simi. It's not Mission Difficult. It's Mission Impossible. Did I get it? I was pretty close.
That was very close.
Like I was close.
That was super close.